They are getting rid of some get out of jail freeze, but there's so many characters that still have them, that especially tank characters that are really good in the meta right now. I feel people are like brushing over it. I can't say. I know Apollo is not a very liked character. Justifiably so, honestly. I know he's not that fun to play against. He's fun to play as, not against. But they seem to be getting rid of a few, but not on the characters that like kind of deserve it. You know what I mean? Like, let me go to, where is she? There she is. Silver. Right? So two stamina, right? A pretty big deal. But when you have this, I kind of lose the idea of what they're having going. You know, 2 is one of the best movement abilities because it's just a better dash. It goes farther. You lose less velocity after you do it. You know what I mean? Like, boom. No stamina used, nothing. And then there's other characters that at least need 1 stamina to get up here that well. Or a different ability, right? Silver is the tank, the frontliner, where most of her abilities are skill shots. This one included, kind of. It's hard to include that one in my brain, just because you know, it's a little funky, just because you are just dashing in front of somebody. But you get a lot. This is one of the best get out of jail free cards. I'm not a dev. I don't know, but I don't know why Silver gets to keep hers. Billy gets to keep his. A really good one. And 3 stamina. Okay, shut up, Billy. Thank you. But you know, he has a good one. Not the best by any means, but it's not bad. And if you upgrade it, it goes farther. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, like it goes really far after the second upgrade. On top of, he usually has a melee charge or a crushing fist, so he can use the melee as get a free stamina because he goes farther. Not many characters buy melee upgrades, maybe like Abrams. But Billy gets to keep his. Apollo loses his. Mina keeps hers, which fair. She's squishy. That makes sense. But Silver keeps hers, right? And everybody got squishier, so tanks are a lot better than they were, because tanks are actually not that squishy in comparison to how it was where no one was squishy with you know, whole kit. And of course, tank. I don't know how to do shift tech, so don't mind me. Right? And on top of all this, he's healing the entire time with Spirit's lifesteal. He's taking less damage with Rage. He has some of the best movement by default, and not even with the cooldowns, you know. And this is a tank in a game where he's actually really tanky again, and not just everyone's tanky. So I don't know why the tanks get to get out of jails, the ones who are supposed to be in a lot longer, but people, well, mainly one. The one who's supposed to get in and out doesn't get that luxury. I'm confused by that. Now, I could be just yelling into the ether. Everyone could be loving this change. Even Apollo's could be. Why does he sometimes go and sometimes not go? You know, it's adding way more confusion. And unless you play the character, you won't know the details. Now, I'm a very casual player, as you know from me being a ritualist. I do know a decent amount. I just don't play it a lot. You know what I mean? I'm still decent at video games, okay? I just don't play that much. right? But I'm more confused now than I was when I just first saw the character. And I play the character now. So it feels fishy. It just feels off. It feels wrong. I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm more just kind of losing words. It's more of a feeling than an explanation. You know what I mean? You see, slows movement of enemy target, also silences their movement-based abilities and items. So, 1 is unusable, 3 is unusable, right? And 4. I forget 4. Right? So, 3 of his 4 abilities are unusable. And he still has 2, but he no longer has a tool to get away, right? And needing to buy an item, to me, feels wrong. You know, I shouldn't need to buy an item to counter the item. To me, that is a very meh way of playing. I shouldn't need to buy an item to counter your counter. I should buy the item to counter your counter, right? I should do this, but I shouldn't have to. You know what I mean? I feel railroaded into. I feel less freedom playing this character than I do other characters. You know what I mean? I could play Doorman and have some of the most freedom in the game, or I could play Apollo and feel railroaded into buying a set number of items and have my cooldowns unusable for the foreseeable future. Right? I don't know. I could be talking out of my ass. I know people are quite happy, but I feel they are losing the point, I guess, of people are saying now he actually has to use skills, you know, his skill to counter this counter, right? What skill is there to buy an item, right? You know what I mean? What skill is to buy an item? That's not skillful, that's just reading the room. You know what I mean? That's reading the room you're in. That's not skillful. You're not masterful in your craft. You're just reading the room correctly. Right? When someone's in a funeral, you don't make a joke about their dead family. Right? You just say nothing. Or give your condolences. You're not being a master of your craft. Of some, you know, comedians can make a joke out of your dead family members, right? Because they are masters of their craft. Normal people just read the room and don't say shit. You know what I mean? That's the same thing with this change. It's not masterful to learn, okay, should I disengage or stun them and make sure they can't shoot me? Is it a 1v2, 2v2? You're not reading a situation and making judgment calls off of it. You're just reading the room and going, okay, this is how I counter this, and now I have my abilities again. Right? I now have my cooldowns. Time to go back to regularly scheduled programming, right? It's not, alright, I don't have to buy this item. I can figure out options to either run away, you know what I mean? Just counter buy. It feels like, I know Overwatch again, but it feels like Counterwatch, you know, where you just see a character such as Genji, Tracer, and then you just play a specific character to counter that person. Make sure they don't have any fun. I feel that's the most boring playstyle to me. Right? That is the most boring playstyle to me. It's just, alright, make sure this person doesn't have any fun. You should both try to have fun. And, of course, if you want to win, play the counter. But it shouldn't completely offset whatever the other character does. You know what I mean? This is more of a balanced mentality thing for me. Just because I've played Tekken. If you don't know anything about Tekken, they're going through big changes that not many older people like, but newer people seem to be enjoying. And I kind of left for that reason. We're going back slowly but steadily, but it's just a little funky. You know what I mean? Now, of course, not the end of the world. It's more of a conversation, I guess, of why is it like this, but other characters are still like me. You know what I mean? It's just a little funky. I feel the skill ceiling should never be limited. right? You should always have options. Movement could be your favorite thing, so you're the movement god, but your aim is a little ass, but you still win fights because you just have good movement. Or you know cooldown rotations and timings very well, you know, so you know when to steal farms, when to take sinners when people would be at sinners. You know, you're good at reading people. You know, alright, someone will be at sinners, I'm gonna go over there, wait for them to melee, then parry. You know? It feels a lot more expressive than most games, and with this change, it feels like they're kind of losing the plot, for me anyway. Of course, not that big of a deal, it's a character in a video game. I'm not gonna cry and bitch about it. But it just is a thing I guess I want to talk about. Mainly a discussion of do people agree with my line of thinking? Just because I've played Tekken and my line of thinking is somehow the majority and the minority at the same time. You know, the newer players hate my line of thinking, but the older players agree with me wholeheartedly, right? And I am a newer player to this game. I feel that I am somehow in the same situation, but no one is talking about this change. And the people who are like the change, but that's just because they despise the character, which I feel is a little disingenuous. You know, it's happened a lot in Tekken where your character got nerfed, rightfully, justifiably so. People would bitch and moan non-stop, and then everyone got buffed to absurdity because no one wanted nerfs, and now we're back at square one where everyone's getting nerfed again, but now everyone's bitching again. So I feel we're in this endless cycle, and I do not want this game to go through that. Just because you don't like the character doesn't mean that character should be never played, bottom tier, because guess what? You're still going to hate the character. It's not going to change. No matter what tier they're in, you're still going to hate the character, right? Your opinion will not change because of a simple change of a move, right? I've played Tekken for longer than I would love to admit, and I still play the game, even if I don't like the way it's going, just because I can express myself in what way I want, even if that is not optimal. You know what I mean? And I feel that expressing yourself and not being optimal are not mutually inclusive. You know, you have to either be optimal or express yourself. You can't do one. You can't do both. Yeah. Okay. Editing me here. Yeah. I would like to just interject, I guess, saying Silver got to keep her skill expression with her 2, using it as a extra stamina movement tool, get away, you know, but Apollo didn't, and that's kind of, I didn't bring that up, but that is kind of the point I'm trying to make here a little bit, and the fact that I do want people to be nerfed, but I don't want mains outcrying and raging, going like, buff up, no, buff, you guys fucking suck, buff. That's what happened in Tekken. Everyone was wanting certain characters nerfed, and then their characters buffed, but they would only take their mains opinions into, you know, point. They wouldn't take the people going for nerf. No, it was people who are the most knowledgeable get the most attention, right? So I just wanted to say, yeah, no, I do want nerfs. That is not, I'm not trying to skate away from the nerf. I just want the freedom back that old moves do, and some still do. I just don't understand why he specifically got this railroading change. That's about it. Sorry, my bad. Go back.